As many of you know, we welcomed home one of our mission teams from Tanzania last Sunday afternoon. And as Judy and Jared make their way up here to the chancel to share with us, I want to tell you a little bit about our newest global mission partner, the African Inland Church of Tanzania. The AICT is focused on bringing holistic healing to some of the most remote and vulnerable villages in Tanzania through the implementation of a process called the Church and Community Mobilization Program. I could talk at length personally about the stories and the transformation that I've experienced by going and seeing, but I hope that you will get a sense of that through Judy and Jared's testimonies to us today. So Judy, let me start with you and ask you, I heard, this is the first time I've gotten to see you, by the way. Hi. So good to see you. I know. I heard that there were a lot of stories shared over the course of the week. And so I'm wondering if you wouldn't mind sharing a story that really resonated with you or an experience that you had that was particularly memorable.
Okay. I want to say at the outset, I was amazed of all the strong women that were leading these churches. I don't know if the men have noticed yet, but they are really the thing that seemed to hold it together. But there was one particular woman who, she was in the last community that we visited, and she was a ball of fire, I tell you, and her story taught me a lot of things. I'll just tell it. Little tiny thing, dressed to the nines, and we went into the church building that we learned later she had been instrumental in getting it built. She gave the land for it to be built on. Then she started growing a garden so she could sell and get the money that they needed to buy the materials, and even took bags of sand and carried them on her head from somewhere and to the church so that that would give them what they needed to make the mortar for holding the cinder blocks together. And so we entered this small church, very small church, and I think we made up about half the congregation when we were there, and she got up to speak, and she spoke so quickly and with such passion that Peter, the person from AICT that we were traveling around with, he just had to catch a quick breath and dive in there to do any kind of translation. And but her, if I had not heard anything about what she was saying, the passion with which she spoke was something like I'm not sure I've ever seen. It came from the depths of her soul. And we learned that she was the one who was instrumental in getting the church started, that a lot of her family, I think, are the ones who make up the members. And she sat down the first time, and then somebody took a pause up at the front who'd moved up there, and she jumped up and had to say something else that she had forgotten. But through that, she shared her story of how Christians are persecuted. This is a very remote village, and that there are still witch doctors, and that they were always working, trying to discredit the Christians that were in this community. And so I took away from that the reality that we don't have any idea what it's like to be persecuted in the United States. And I had the opportunity to stand before that community and say to them, we are not persecuted in the United States. And I, for some reason, figured out that I thought there were no deepest and darkest places in Africa anymore, but there are. And so as I stood before them, I said, I've never suffered persecution, but now that I've looked in your eyes and I've seen into your hearts. I will not forget, and I will hold you up in prayer until I see you again. So.
Thank you, Judy. Now, Jared, as one of our pastoral residents, you were gifted with the task of last minute leading this team. But also as somebody who's kind of dedicated their life and their education to pastoral care and theology, tell us what the AICT taught you about church and about engagement in the community.
It's always fun and interesting to theorize about how the church can have an impact in the world, but the church there in Tanzania that we are partnering with showed us ways that the church does have a remarkable impact on their community. You can read in the tapestry a beautiful story by Allison Wingfield that talks about the holistic transformation that the AICT is doing there, spiritual transformation and community transformation. We got to tour clinics and places where they're helping people to use the maximum capacity of their local economy, and we got to see the ways that they're planting churches and really transforming communities. But I think that maybe the best example of how profound their impact is that they have this multi-acre facility called the Agroforestry Training Center. And to make a long and complex operation short, they invite local farmers and pastoralists to come to this center, and they teach them farming practices that will maximize their resources for their economic benefit. And so in the short term, they're helping relieve poverty in the communities around them. But they're also teaching these people how to take care of the land, literally how to feed the soil in a way that it will continue to produce a crop, and how to use their resources in a way that doesn't deplete the land around them. So in the long term, they're trying to help these people develop practices that will alleviate poverty and keep their livelihood and way of living for centuries to come. So the church is making an impact now and looking into the future to sustainably transform people's lives, and it was remarkable.
Now, if that wasn't enough, that was just your first 2 or 3 days. Then they traveled to, the main purpose of the trip really was to go and see the progress of the dormitory that we were able to help build and fund through this year's World Hunger Offering. So tell us a little bit about, just very quickly, what was the response of the students and the staff to the team?
Extreme gratitude. It was very humbling to stand there with them and to continue to hear them say, "We love you, we love your church, thank you, thank you, thank you." And I don't know if you want to say what the boys did. They had a poster up, because it's just for the girls, and they had a poster up that said, "Wilshire Baptist Church, remember the boys of Nyakombu." So we're looking into helping with that.
The welcome and the gratitude that we received was profound. There's a large photo in the tapestry of some of the girls in Nyakombu holding up signs that had all of our names and expressed their gratitude to Wilshire. And as we walked toward the dormitory whose walls are now erect, they were playing music and dancing and clapping and holding these signs that they had made. And we got to tour the hostel or the dormitory where the girls currently live, and it's 4 moderate-sized rooms that more than 50 girls live in. 4 to a bunk, that's 2 for each mattress, and even some of the girls drag out mattresses at night and sleep on the floor because they're overcrowded. And so girls living in that situation almost literally piled on top of each other. And now they're going to have one girl per mattress in a new facility that will keep them safe and dry and protected. Their gratitude toward us was so rich and so overwhelming for all of us, I think.
Well, thank you. Thank you both for going and being a part of the team and for representing us as a church. For those of us that couldn't go for various reasons, we love you and appreciate you so much.